this. So guys, the name is Gout Gout, according to what his father said. Because if you see the name, normally it is spelled G-O-U-T, which could and is usually pronounced as gout gout, or with the Australian accent, gout gout. But his father said his name is Gout Gout, and the reason why the name is misspelled and mispronounced is because of a translation issue some time ago or sometime like that, and he's hoping that the name will be changed officially one day and all of that. But anyways, that's by the way. What we're about to talk about here is a sprint racing prodigy that could be greater than Usain Bolt, guys. I'm telling you, I'm not capping here. This dude is 17 years old and born and raised in Australia with origins from South Sudan. That's where his parents are from. Now, his personal best in the 100 meters is 10.17 seconds. And at the age of 17, that's quite impressive, which means, he will still get better. He will still get faster. So there's so much more he can do. However, something interesting that I've noticed, and that because I watched an interview he was on recently. Something interesting I noticed is that the 100 meters is not necessarily his favorite race to run. It kind of favors the 200 meters more, which is where he has a more notable record, I would say. His personal best in the 200 meters is a time of 20.04 seconds, which is very impressive, but that's not where it ends. Guys, that time beats a 57-year-old Oceania record set by Peter Norman, an Australian athlete in the 1960s, I think. Gout's time beats that record. Peter Norman's record was 20.06 seconds. An Oceania record that stood for 57 years. And guys, it was broken by a 17-year-old. Now, you know what impresses me the most about this? One of the things that impressed me the most about this guy is the fact that, so I'm familiar with athletics to a good extent, but I don't know Australia to be a country that produces spectacular sprint racing athletes. And what I'm trying to say here is that, guys, if you watch sprint racing or athletics generally, you will know that certain countries are known for certain events or things, like just the way, the East Africans, Kenya, Ethiopia, maybe Uganda, are known for the long distance races, 5,000 meters, the 10,000 meters, and the 15,000 meters, the marathons, the likes of Eliud Kipchoge and all of that. And then the Jamaicans and maybe Black Americans and maybe Caribbeans are known for the sprint races, the 100 meters, the 200 meters. A lot of big names there come from that part of the world. Now, in history and in my own lifetime, I've never really heard of a sprint racing talent this good coming out of Australia. So, two of the reasons I would say he's going to become a big name is obviously genetics. You see the guy's body frame and you just kind of feel like he was built to play a sport. The guy said on the interview I watched that when he had started training around 2020, but he wasn't really taking it serious then because he was considering other options in football and basketball, which kind of favors his genes. He's from a tribe in South Sudan called Dinka tribe, which are known to produce the tallest people in the world, if I'm correct. And there's been a history of, I think, one or two people from that part of the world playing in the NBA. I think one of them was the tallest player ever to play in the NBA or so. So you can see why he considered basketball. But apart from that, it's notable that Australia generally does not excel in producing 100-meter or 200 short sprint racing athlete at this level, because he's just 17. I think he will be 18 in December 2025. So, which means that his potential is way above this guy. Anyways, let's go on to, the fact that he also runs the 400 meters. Now, this guy is a sprint racing athlete that kind of likes to run the 400 meters as well. I'm not sure why, because a lot of sprint racing athletes that are big names mostly run the 100 meters, 200 meters, and the 4x1. But I think he's still very young, so he's trying to probably figure out where exactly he would be best fit for. But his personal best in the 400 meters is currently a time of 46.20 seconds, which means he also has potential in that aspect. Now, for the future of this guy, his immediate future, this month, June 2025, he's going to compete. In fact, very soon, he's going to compete in his first. He's going to make his European debut in Ostrava, Czechia, or as also known as Czech Republic, in an athletics competition. I can't remember the name now. Then he would go on to compete in the Diamond League in July, next month, July 2025. And then later this year, he will be making his debut in the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo, Japan in September. And that's where things will get really, really serious, because he has already qualified for the 200 meters of that competition. Now, that means that he could potentially be going up against the likes of Noah Lyles. Noah Lyles, who, interestingly, was on that interview with him kind of like as a host. So they are already getting acclimatized to each other, but they're definitely going to be opponents in the future. And, of course, Leslie Tebogo, the current 200-meter Olympic champion from Botswana. So the big names in that. Leslie Tebogo also still in his early 20s, I think, by the way. So God has a lot of competition. So, but this guy, I am so sure he's going to live up to potential as long as he keeps training, as long as he keeps listening to his coaches and following the right path. When I heard him speak on the interview, I saw him as a young man who had a clear vision of what he wanted to achieve, where he set his sights on, and is someone who recognizes the talents that he possesses. And he talked a little bit about his weekly schedule of training and how he was able to balance school, because he's just 17, he's still going to school. I think he's his final year of high school or something now. So obviously there's times he has to leave school and go to compete, but so far he has been able to handle it well. And he did make mention that his grades are also quite good, which is a good thing, because he has something else to fall back on, even if he's potentially done with athletics and all of that. So, guys, for now, that is everything about squats.